Hello, my lovely witches, and welcome to part 2. So, books I am currently delving into, whether it's just dipping a toe in here or there, or whether it's a deep dive, partly depends on my energy levels at any given time, how tired I am, how much time I have, and what the subject is. So to continue the I'm in love with everything fungi theme, the first 2 books I am going to show you I purchased purely for aesthetic purposes, as inspiration for my own art, and just to look at because I thought they were beautiful. This one is very definitely aimed at children. I'm a big child, so that works. I just think the artwork is stunning. It's called Humongous Fungus. And I hope I can even fit it all in frame. If I can't, we might have to chop some edges off because I don't think my camera will go up any higher. I might just move these crystals out of my way. And it's one of my bookmarks. Even the end papers are stunning. It's just beautiful. It is a book about facts of fungi, which is also interesting, and you can actually learn quite a bit about it. I just think the artwork is stunning. It's just got a feel about it that I love. Isn't it gorgeous? I think it's beautiful. So that's the first one that I purchased, as I said, for sort of inspiration and the beauty of the art. Again, it combines painting with collaged photography, and I'm a fan. I just think it's gorgeous. So, Fungi 1. And this is part of a series. This definitely won't all fit in frame. Apologies for that. I will just have to. I mean, I just want to touch it. It's so gorgeous. So this is Fungarium. There's herbarium as well. I have one on like the human body. Again, I think it's probably aimed at children. I'm not sure. They are sort of scientific books. And this one is all on mushrooms. So there you go, Royal Botanic Gardens Q. And again, I just really, 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 really love the artwork. And again, there's really good information also. But there's a very scientific drawings kind of vibe to this. Isn't this gorgeous? Just takes your breath away. Well, it does mine anyway. I love it. So I think I used this page as the main inspiration for an art piece that I created, where I painted some mushrooms and stuck them in an old painted and decorated pizza box, and it is hanging on my wall. I'm not sure if I actually shared that on my Corrigan Moon Leopard Instagram. It may have been on my art Instagram, which I almost never post to. Mostly because I don't do the same kind of art that I used to. But if you're looking for that, it's Alexandra Felgate Art. This book is so beautiful. And again, it's just really, the colour palette is lovely on each page. Lots of room for inspiration. You know, if you are in an artistic slump or an ebb state as opposed to a flow state, this sort of thing can be great to jog that inspiration. And this is the reason why I have books like this. I don't sit here and read them over and over again. But when I need a lift, when I need some inspiration, or when I think I really would love to do some mushroom art magic or something, or just paint some pictures of mushrooms, or be inspired to create something new, this is the perfect type of book. So I highly recommend owning books that spark your vibe for creating. And on that, another mushroom book. He's slightly obsessed. And again, this is all artwork. This is mushroom illustrations. And it's just a really lovely, gentle, mushroomy, happy book to look at. So if you too are obsessed with mushrooms, I recommend. Highly recommend. I think that's all the books on mushrooms that I was going to show you. So we are done with the fungi portion of the video. However, we are not done with the for art and inspiration type books. This is another one that I am enjoying. I'm about halfway through this book. I have decided I want to read it cover to cover, and I can't always find time to read. It takes me quite a while to get through a book, especially as I do dip and delve into different things. Bit of a magpie brain. I don't know why. It's really interesting saying magpie brain when Australian magpies don't like shiny things. They're not interested in shiny things. Australian magpies are completely different from the European magpies. They are not corvids for a start. They're beautiful birds. They look very similar. They're black and white. In Australia, they have 2 pairs of vocal cords. So they sing these incredible songs. And not only do they sing incredible songs, but each magpie family has its own songs. And you can't, as a magpie, you have to learn your family's songs. You can't just go and join another family because you won't know their songs. How cool is that? I'm rambling. So conscious creativity. This is a book for artists. It's not anything to do with magic. Although she has a deck that goes quite well, partners well with this book, and it is a deck purely to spark creativity, and I do have that too. So it's not an oracle deck, but it's a creativity sparking deck. I'm really enjoying this book. It's talking, I mean, she's got little exercises in here. I've tagged a few pages. It's beautiful. It's talks a lot about all the various feelings that we can have as artists or as people who want to be artists. Time is an issue. Boredom can be an issue. Comparison assassination. I think we're all familiar with some of these things. And then going through into some of the more practical sides of art making. So that's another lovely book about art that I am enjoying. And the last art related one is another book for inspiration. Some of you may have seen the art of Nathalie Leté. Incredible French artist with the most whimsical, delightful, vibrant, colourful, magical, in my view, style. This book is lovely. The cover is fabric. It's sort of soft and silky. And her art style is stunning. And that is why I bought this book. I found Natalie's Instagram a long time ago and love it. Saved a gazillion posts. In fact, pretty much every time she posts her art, I save it to refer back to. She paints a lot with animals and toys. I'm not much of the toy sort of vibe as much, especially dolls. I don't like dolls. They creep me out. Too many horror films. And I've never liked them. But she does a lot of this sort of still life stuff. Yeah, she's, you know, got these little toys and dolls. Again, she's inspired by, you know, a whole lot of different things. I'll find some of these pages I've tagged because, oh, look at that. It's autumn. Yay. Gorgeous. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm a big fan of these little tags for tagging things in books that I want to refer to again, and I do it incessantly to everything. Isn't this gorgeous? Her color palettes are stunning. This is a really beautiful color palette. Oh, yes. It's very sort of fresh and vibrant. And I like the little bit of whimsy that you get in her paintings. Stunning. So that's another one that I have been using lately to go to. Sometimes I don't have the energy for actual creating, but it can be nice to just flip through things that give me creative inspiration and make me feel good. And this book does that for me in the garden of my dreams. So that's books on art. Now we are going to get to actual witchy books. I'm not quite sure what to show you first. I think I will show you The Dark Goddess Magic by C.R. Campbell. I was searching for an oracle deck that was called the Dark Goddess Oracle. And in my search, this book came up. And I thought it looked interesting. Rituals and spells for reclaiming your feminine fire. Excuse me. Maybe I've been talking for too long. And it goes through a number of dark goddesses and suggests visualizations, correspondences, and a number of rituals that you can do working with these goddesses. And the artwork is gorgeous. It's Ereshkigal, Inanna, Persephone. Persephone is a very popular Greek goddess. I must admit she was one of the first goddesses that I was attracted to working with. I don't really work with her anymore, but in some very early days, I did a bit of work with her. So it just talks about various different ways you can work with these goddesses and some suggestions on rituals. Interestingly, I was having a chat with a friend about working with deity recently. And she was of the belief that people should really just get to know their deity directly, because otherwise you end up with other people's experiences in working with deity imposed on your own. And you know, you may have, whether meaning to or not, authors can sort of say this is the right way and this is not the right way, and do this but don't do that. And I agree that not with that. I agree that you do need to get to know the deity directly. One of the problems I've always had with some of the organized religions is that they won't allow you, particularly the patriarchal religions, won't allow women to speak directly with deity. And in my view, that's bollocks. I got to know my goddess before I knew she was a goddess. And even when I did discover she was a goddess, there was very little information out there. So I worked with my deity one-on-one for many years, knowing very little about what other people thought of her, I suppose. I have since done a lot more research because there's a lot more information available now, both with the internet and I think the explosion of written material, books out there that actually mention the Kaliak, which, you know, it wasn't as prevalent before. And I think, you know, the same goes for other deities that I have and do work with. But all of that said, I think books like this can be really interesting and can sometimes, you know, I'm always of the opinion that you can read something like this, but you don't have to follow it slavishly. You might, I don't know, let's just randomly pick a page. Okay, the Raven Wing of Truth Prophecy. This is working with the Morrigan, connecting with prophecy. It's got some suggestions for using candle. Yeah, and making a little sachet. Okay, so that's lovely. That's a really lovely spell, actually. I would look at this and I would say, first of all, I may or may not want to work with the Morrigan on this. I will say in my experience, and it's certainly not the case for everyone, but in my experience, if the Morrigan wants you to work with her, she lets you know. If she doesn't, don't go there. And she's never called me to work with her. I'm fascinated by her and I have read books on her, and I would definitely be interested in working with her, but I have never approached her because yeah, my gut feeling is there's a distinct no. But if there's a yes for you, go for it. So I might look at this and say, well, okay, I might not work with the Morrigan on this. I might work with another goddess who has that symbolism of ravens and crows. In fact, the Kaliak would be a good one for me to work with, being a dark goddess who is also associated with those things. Or I might look at this and say, okay, I love this, for example. Or I like this, but I want to change some of the words. Or I don't like this and I'm not going to use that petition at all. I might use my own words. Or I might say, okay, yeah, piece of black fabric, some jasmine, rose, sage, bay, rosemary, and black obsidian. I don't have any black obsidian, and I don't have any jasmine, for example. So you could substitute something else for the jasmine. Maybe I could substitute some sweet peas or something else. Or I could leave it out. I wouldn't, and maybe this comes from just years and years and years of experience working magic. I no longer feel as nervous, I suppose, as I might have first, when I first started to practice, about getting it right. Just do it. Just do the thing. If you're constantly worried about not having quite the right herbs, having to go out and buy something, not, you know, having the right color candle. This says to use a black candle. They're easier to get now than they used to be, but even then, you know, if you don't have any or you don't want to go and buy them, you might have a white candle. You might not use a candle at all. You might live in living circumstances that doesn't allow candles. You might use a tea light. You might use an electric light. You might draw a picture of a candle. You know, there are so many ways to adapt. For me, a book like this is not about slavishly sticking to the creations of this author or even the suggestions, even the correspondences. If you're wanting to work with a new goddess, this can be great because it can give you a little bit of background. It can give you some ideas on how to approach them. But don't ever feel that you have to slavishly copy everything exactly the way it's been written by a particular individual. If that's what you want to do, that's totally fine too. And I have spells that I've done for years that have been written by other witches, and I do them exactly the same way that they've been written. But probably 90% of the work that I do, spell work particularly, or ritual particularly, is either entirely my own creation or has been adapted from something like this. So I'm enjoying flicking through this. I haven't done an in-depth read. It's been more of a dip in and out. I did read this chapter because, as you know, I really like to work with bast and have done for a very long time. And this is a really beautiful, some really beautiful rituals and some great ideas on how to work with bast. I am really loving this book, but I also don't take any of these sorts of books on deity as gospel, because in my view, in paganism and in witchcraft, there is no such thing as gospel. Literally, you have to find out for yourself, experience for yourself, and that requires you to get your head out of the books, which can't, you know, sometimes that's not easy. It's very safe sitting and reading about stuff, and sometimes it can be a little scary to actually do the thing, particularly when it comes to deity work. I know a lot of people want to do it but don't really know how to get started. This wasn't meant to sort of turn into a talk about deity work, but while we're on the topic, one of the things that I believe, you know, you will hear people say, oh, well, I was chosen by this goddess or this god. You have to wait and let them come to you, and you know, I'm so precious to be chosen. There's a sort of an attitude out there in some practitioners. And I just think it's bullshit. You can have a goddess approach you. That's sort of what happened with me. I went looking. I did a meditation to find a spirit guide specifically. But you could do the same thing to find a goddess and get your messages via a guided meditation, a meditation that you go into just by yourself. Or you can just choose to work with a deity. I think one of the things is, you know, read about some deities. Is there a pantheon or a culture that calls to you because it's your background or something that you feel connected to? Start there. Learn about some of the deities in that culture, and if there's some that, you know, pique your interest. Oh, we've got Godric. Hello, darling. Could you sit on the altar? They've got nothing to look at. There you go. Don't burn your little nosies. So yeah, I think if you are interested in a goddess, or you've been hearing or seeing social media posts or books come up or something, it probably means that's a goddess that's maybe interested in working with you, or a god. It's okay to say, hey, I'm really, really taken by the myth of Persephone, and I love the, you know, idea of a goddess of the underworld, and she's got some cool symbols in pomegranates. Let's work with Persephone. Try it. And you can do that in many, many ways. My favourite way to work with deity is to sit down and have a chat with them. I chat with you guys and you guys don't respond because I'm chatting to you via video. I'm quite comfortable talking to something that doesn't actually have a specific loud, audible voice. I find deity will give me feelings. I find deity, I will have a conversation and I get this sort of just physical or emotional reaction. I also find I get sort of images, you know, come into my mind. That's working with deity. If it's conscious, You can also work with deities through divination materials. So you can use a pendulum, for example, ask them questions. You could use an oracle deck or a tarot deck. You can even specifically dedicate a deck to a deity. You can create your own deck. In a recent video on my altar tour, I mentioned, and I've mentioned it before, I have a little bowl of stones, pebbles, that I have painted on one side and written keywords on. And I will pull those to work with my deity. Sometimes working with deity can be as simple as just sitting down, lighting a candle, lighting a stick of incense, and saying, this is for you. Put a picture of that deity on your altar. Print one off the internet. You know, you don't have to go out and buy the very, very expensive, beautiful statues. I love all those beautiful, expensive statues, but 90% of them don't relate to the gods that I work with anyway. Some do. And some of them are really, really expensive. Like, we are talking mega bucks. You don't have to spend lots and lots of money. If you've got the money and you want to, you know, you go for it, because, like, why not? But if you don't, and many of us don't, particularly when we're starting out in the craft, we don't have the money. So you can, as I said, print something off the internet, find an image you like. You can purchase them. You know, there's amazing artists out there all over Etsy creating images of just about every deity you can imagine. Go searching. Create something yourself. If you're not really crap at drawing people like I am, you can paint your own. Some of my deity depictions I like. Some of them I think are terrible. Collage one. You can sculpt something yourself. You can upcycle a statuette from the op shop or charity store. You can use music that is, you know, has some sort of significance to perhaps the cultural background of the deity you want to work with. So many different ways. So many different ways. The top one I think that I would suggest is just talk to them. Anyway, let's get back to the book chat. Now that we've had a big ramble about deity work, I'm going to have to title this video Ramble About Deity Work as well as some books. This one, The Year of Cozy, is really beautiful. It's maybe not specifically designed as a book of witchcraft or for witchcraft, but it's about seasonal work and things that you can do in different seasons. That drink looks amazing. That makes me want to drink something delicious. This is actually about making coasters, watercolor burlap textured coasters. So there's a lot of crafts. There's recipes. There's, okay, ride your bike to a never before been place. Go on an adventure with your dog. Fruit waters. This is obviously in summer. There's a recipe for some fish. Pan roasted branzino, I don't know what that is, with cherry tomatoes and quinoa. Branzino or branzini. It's not a fish I'm familiar with. So this is, this is not an Australian book, so I think it's American, going by the spelling of cozy. Yeah, it's a book that I like to flick through. As you know, I'm working at the moment very deeply in the Wheel of the Year in my book, and this is a nice book for me to have a look through. God, that looks good. Warm fudgy brownie. Yum. So it's a great one to get suggestions and ideas for seasonal practice. Sometimes connecting with some seasons is easier than others for us. Some we resonate more with, some we don't. You know me, I'm not a big lover of the summer seasons, so the, you know, Lunasa in particular is a difficult one for me. So this can be, There's a recipe to make gravlax. Yum, doesn't that look good? Writing handwritten notes. Just nice ideas to work seasonally throughout the year. Make warm chai tea or decadent hot chocolate. So I'm enjoying that one and flicking through seasonally when I'm working on my Wheel of the Year studies and pages in my Wheel of the Year grimoire. Oh, Godric, don't. Be nice. Good boy. Good boy. That's it. So I recommend that. It's a beautiful, comfy sort of book for working seasonally. Another really comfy sort of book is this one by Sam McKechnie called Gentle Spells and Kind Magic. It's quite a nice beginner book, I would say. But I found it quite beautiful. And this actually is also working with colour, which, as you know, is something that I am doing this year, working through the Chaos Craft year in Colour Magic. So this has some beautiful spells and sigils and things to make, things to experience when it comes to colour, things that you might want to put on your altar. A little, look, this is cute, sun incense holder made of air dry clay. So I really like it. Again, it's got a very soft, cozy, comfy feel to it. And it's beautiful. It's really beautiful. Like her other book that I have, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it's also stunning, which is a sort of more seasonal book. This is more about colour. Both of them are gorgeous. So loving that one. That's the second book of hers that I've bought, and I'm really enjoying it. I don't think there's vast amounts of amazing witchcraft knowledge that you can learn out of it. If you have been practicing a while, it's stuff you're probably going to already know. But it's got some nice ideas and some cozy suggestions, and it's a good heart-centered sort of witchcraft book. Another one that's very heart-centered and beautiful that is not a witchcraft book, but I have to say that the way this author talks about her journals, I feel like she's a witch. She doesn't specify that she's a witch, and maybe she's not, but I have to say there's a lot of very instinctively witchy, magical vibes in this book. She talks a lot about keeping journals for record keeping and ideas and projects and why you keep a journal. And, you know, I think some of that probably doesn't relate to us as witches, but some of it does. But the main reason I like this book is it's just really, really beautiful. There's the author, Tilly Rose. I think she looks like a witch. I'm probably biased. She's probably not a witch. It doesn't matter. Daydream Journals. She does these beautiful covers stitched with all manner of gorgeous items, things that she's found, snippets of fabric and natural elements and beautiful beads and buttons and baubles. I'm loving it. She's got natural dyes and things in here. You know, from an art perspective, it's beautiful. But if you look at it from the additional aspect of art magic, there's so many beautiful ideas in this. Solar dyeing, using different herbs and foodstuffs to add colour to cloth or paper. Again, I think you could do, this is that, paper, not flour squishing stuff that people do. I've not ever tried it because it just looks a bit, I feel like it's a bit destructive of beautiful blooms. I don't know, that's just me. making covers for your books of shadows. See, here we go. If she's not a witch, why is she celebrating the winter solstice? She's a witch. Maybe she's not. Maybe she's just a pagan. I don't know. Maybe she just likes the winter. She's a witch. Witch, burn her. That's a line out of a film, by the way. And if you don't know, it's probably because you're not as ancient as I am. But it's a Monty Python film. I'm not proposing we burn witches. Gorgeous, 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 gorgeous book. It's full of beautiful, delicate delightfulness. A jar of smiles. How beautiful is that? That's gorgeous. So yes, I'm really enjoying it. I think it's going to give me lots of new ideas to work on and in my magical grimoires and my magical library. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'm loving it and I highly recommend it if that's your jam. If you like stitching and you like journaling, this is the book for you, especially if you're a witch. Excuse me, Neffy, sitting on my pile of books. And the last two, this one is about gardening predominantly. Well, gardening and plants and stuff. Again, it's another very beautiful, gentle, heart-centered, spiritual book. Creating sanctuary. I think it's essentially bringing nature into your life. I am no gardener. We've established that I can't garden. I have no earth signs at all in my natal chart, so I kill everything. But I love to work with plant energies, and I deeply appreciate the cycle of the year. You know, paganism and witchcraft are very earth-centered, nature-centric practices or spiritualities, and this is a really lovely book to explore that, I think. There's a lot on making a garden and making a garden into a sanctuary specifically, sort of a spiritual place, which I find really, really lovely, and how to do that, and whether it's with plants or, you know, art items, statues and decor and wind chimes, and, you know, making spaces to sit, meditation areas, meeting garden spirits. It's a really, really lovely book for working with earth energies. I'm enjoying it. As I said, I'm not very good with gardening, but even just reading the book makes me feel good. So there's some descriptions of some plants in here as well, and what they, how to grow them, but also what they're used for. And then we've got growing herbs for your own apothecary. I apologise for the really noisy neighbour out there with a hammer. Always happens when I try and film. Mushroom gardens. Yes, I am slightly obsessed. Creating personal transformation, altar, meditation and journal in your vision of sanctuary. Daily sanctuary practices and rituals. Setting seasonal intentions. Creating a labyrinth. I want to create a labyrinth in my garden. I really do. But given my mobility problems, there's probably not a lot of point. I think I just need to walk the labyrinth in meditation instead. Grounding. I'm actually planning on doing a bit of a video on grounding practices, because as a non-earth person, it's really important for me and something I have struggled with in the past, and I have to consciously do it because I don't instinctively do it. Bedtime bath tea. This is, again, it's just a really, really, really beautiful book for exploring the world outside and bringing it into your life. So perfect for the the witch in us, or anyone that wants to just, you know, bring nature into their life. So highly recommend, whether you're a gardener or not, because as you know, I'm not. It's still a really lovely book with beautiful ideas and concepts and practices. And the final one that I'm going to talk to you about today is the Oracle Creator. So this is for all of us art witches, specifically, who want to create our own Oracle or Tarot deck. As you know, I have created 3 now. Oracle decks for myself. I've never created a tarot deck. It has been something that is on a bit of a bucket list, but I'm a little overwhelmed by the size of 78 cards, whereas an Oracle deck, I can choose how many cards I put in it. My neighbour's finished. This is a really, really great book to get you started, to give you ideas on how to create your own deck, whether it is an Oracle or a Tarot deck. If it's something that interests you, this is a really lovely resource to help you on that way. It goes into the history of oracles and tarot. It talks a lot about planning, simple oracle decks like this. How cool is that? That's a really cool looking deck. It's got gorgeous artwork in it. This is some symbols. No, it's not the symbols. It's common uses for oracles. There is a section in here on symbols and what you might, you know, here we go. This is the section on symbols that you might include in a deck and what their meanings might be. I think you need to resonate with them. I don't think you should automatically use someone else's description of what a symbol means, because it's going to be different for everyone. And if you're making your own deck, make it for you. Color symbolism. So it's got a lot of exercises in here that you can go through if you want to create a deck and you're not quite sure how to get started. It's a really lovely book. I love it. And I highly recommend it if you're going to work with decks, create decks, and you're not quite sure where to go. It's got some lovely inspiration artwork-wise as well. It does go into talking about having decks published. It's not something that I have any plans to do at this point in my life. But then again, I had no plans to make a YouTube channel at any stage. And yet here we are. So I never thought that I would do that. That was something that didn't interest me. And I was just like, I would never do that. It's too scary. It's too hard. There were so many it's too in my mind. But it's not. Because here I am and I'm doing it and I love it. And I'm so appreciative of all of you. If you've made it through this incredibly long, incredibly rambly video, know that you are my tribe. And I love you with all my heart. It means the world to me that people actually watch my rambles and are inspired by the things that I do or talk about. I love to hear from you guys. And if you have made a deck or are planning to make a deck, tell me about it. I'm really interested. And if you are interested in getting started and don't know where to go, this is a really lovely resource. So I hope that this has inspired you, interested you. If you're a book nerd, you might have enjoyed seeing some books that you maybe haven't seen before, and that you can add to your wish list. Sorry, not sorry. And I also hope that if you joined me to listen to the ramble about working with deity, that has also sparked something in you or has interested you, if that was the bit that you wanted to watch. I think that's all I have to say. Certainly all I have to show you. So thank you so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.